So you're curious about carnivore, but you're scared of what might happen? Let me break it down for you. I made a short list here that I'm going to cover that goes through each phase for many people who are beginning carnivore and some of the things to expect. And we'll cover some of the common myths around it. So the early days, and this is what I'll call generally the first couple of weeks. When you first start doing it, and it's going to depend on what diet you were on before. If you're already doing a ketogenic diet, that's one thing. But if you are, because carnivore is ketogenic in nature, keto is not the point of the diet, but it just is because there's no sugar. But if you're on a carbohydrate heavy diet, then it's probably going to take your body a little bit longer to adjust. First and foremost, if you've been having any sort of carbs at all in your life, whether it be sugar, whether it be starchy foods, rice and potatoes and pasta and bread, then you're going to have a withdrawal period. I mean, for the first couple of weeks, it's usually just a few days, but it varies. You're not going to feel, you're going to have the cravings. It's going to affect your mood and your energy levels. Not only that, the microbiome, the friendly bacteria that live in your gut that help you to digest these foods, they fluctuate based on what your diet is. And so if you are going from years and years of eating carbs basically every single day, and then all of a sudden you stop, they're going to throw a fit. They're also going to start dying off because they can't live without those. And they're going to start releasing toxins, and that is not going to make you feel well, but it's necessary. I mean, it's there's no way to skip past this. I wish there was a pill or a button that you could push and just get past this, but it's just part of it. But just know this, it's leading somewhere better. Another thing is if you're someone who has any level of bloating or gas or any sort of GI distress at all after you eat, especially after you eat, there will be a markedly noticeable difference in just, there will be no gas. I mean, I can't tell you how many, it happened to me, and I can't tell you how many countless others have come and given me the feedback, man, I've had no gas, and actually my gut is shrinking. I don't have the bloat at all. It hasn't been like this, and I don't remember the last time it was like this, and I'm like, I love it. And the gut just starts to calm. Digestion improves. Now, I will say energy may dip initially, but don't be confused there because that's just the body having to readjust and switch over to a different fuel system. Think of it as like a gasoline versus a diesel engine. If glucose is present at all, the body's going to burn. It's going to primarily use that, and that's because it causes insulin to release. And when insulin comes out, it is a hormonal signal to your body to not burn fat, to only burn glucose, and to also, it tells the cells to start uptaking glucose into themselves so that it'll get out of the blood, so it'll lower your blood sugar. That's also why it leads to fat accumulation. Your body has, once it's in the cell doesn't know what to do, and it has to turn it into fat. That won't be happening. So the energy may dip initially, but it gets a lot better. So the next phase, I call it the adaptation phase. And this usually, again, it's variable, but it usually happens between 2 and 6 weeks, again, depending on your metabolic state and what diet you're on to begin with. But what happens is the fat adaptation, it kicks in. Your body gets very efficient at breaking down fats, and it breaks it down into fatty acids, triglycerides, and ketones. And that is a very good fuel source because every cell in your body can run off of that fuel source. I mean, think about it. If you're in a starvation scenario and there was no food present, what is your body going to do? It's going to tap into your fat storage. It's going to break it down, and you're going to run until you run out of fat. Now, at that point, you are going to starve. But my point is clearly, we're able to do that. And so it's actually a very efficient process, and insulin's not involved. And if insulin's not involved, there's a whole bunch of other cascade of hormones that don't get involved, and so your energy is just flat and stable. That's what's really good here. The cravings disappear at this point. You don't even want sugar. At this point, you can clearly tell the difference between hunger and cravings, and let me tell you, there is quite a difference there. Hunger, if you're just hungry, I always ask, does a ribeye steak sound good right now? And if it doesn't, then I might just have a craving. The difference between hunger and craving is hunger, I can be like, all right, I'll eat soon. I'll eat within 30 minutes to an hour. If it's a craving, well, I'm going to get up, and get in my car, and I'm going to drive 10 miles across town to the donut shop to get that donut right now because that's what I'm craving. Not the same thing. The other thing is a marked decrease in inflammation, especially if you're someone who has chronically high inflammation. If you're someone with an autoimmune condition, that was me. That was why this was so impactful to me, is that it was more powerful than any drug out there. to reduce inflammation. The other thing is it usually improves sleep because, again, if you're in a high inflammatory state or if you've got, your energy levels are fluctuating based off these high carbohydrates, those are gone and your circadian rhythm will just kind of stabilize out. The next phase, I call it the breakthrough. This usually happens generally between 6 and 12 weeks for people. Brain fog, it clears. And I will say this, I didn't realize I even had brain fog until it was gone. Once it was gone, it was clear that I had it. I didn't realize how bad it was until I could think clearly and it was gone. Autoimmune flares, like I said, I was under a rheumatologist for well over a decade, all the way including the Mayo Clinic, continued to get sicker and sicker and sicker because they were throwing drugs at symptoms and not at the root cause. So the inflammation was still there. It was just messing with my immune system's ability to interact with it the way it wanted to. Once I got to the root cause, which was food, my autoimmune, those symptoms went away. Your weight, clearly, if you do this, your body's going to get very efficient at burning this. And when you run out of dietary fat to burn, your body will just automatically start burning your own body fat without you being hungry. It doesn't know, can't tell the difference between dietary and your own body fat. As long as fat is it's there for it to burn. And so you can essentially not have to go on a calorie restrictive diet, and your body will still be so much more efficient at burning fat for fuel that you will lose not just weight, but fat. And that's a good thing. Your skin, a lot of people, I can't tell you how many people have told me that, whether they had psoriasis or eczema or rosacea or acne, or even if you're just someone who burns easily in the sun, oddly enough, and I don't even know the science behind this, but oddly enough, a lot of people say either A, they never burn anymore, or B, when they do, it's 10 times less severe than they thought it would be based off, what happened to them in the past. And so something about reducing that inflammation makes your body more resilient to things that used to trigger inflammation. Another thing is mood. Think about it. If you got more energy, if you're sleeping better, if you don't have brain fog, if you're not bloated, none of these things, you're probably just generally going to be in a better mood. As soon as you wake up, you just feel good. And so you got a better mood, and you won't even be the one that needs to realize that. You'll have people tell you, man, you've been in a good mood lately. What's going on? You doing something? What's going on with you? And it's a good feeling whenever people tell you this. And then at this point, it really builds confidence. You really, at this point, you can say, I can actually live this way. I can eat this crazy diet that I was completely, maybe a little bit scared to try. I was very skeptical of. That was exactly me. I was convinced it wasn't going to work until I tried it, and then it absolutely blew my mind and gave me my life back. Now, a few myths I'm going to cover is that, some people think that if I do that and it's such a restrictive diet, I'm not going to be able to get the minerals and the vitamins and the nutrients that I would if I ate everything. And let me just address that. Let me tell you right now, meat is the most nutrient-dense food per ounce on the planet. Nothing else even comes close. There's no plant on the planet that can even get close to what you can get as the complete metabolic profile, nutritional profile in meat. And not only that, there's a lot of things that you can only get from meat, just to name a few: B12, vitamin D3 and K2. These are very important to your health. You need them. They're essential, and you're not going to get them at least in any meaningful amount in other foods. When it comes, eggs are usually a big part of people's diets. Again, in whether you're talking about eggs or high fat animal meats, you're going to have all of your essentials. You're going to have all 9 essential amino acids. You're going to have both essential fatty acids and nothing more. There's no more garbage. It's just the fuel that your body needs. And that's really where the magic is that you're giving it only what it needs and letting it take care of any problems that may be going on in your body. And you're giving it a break for an extended period. You can't just do it for 1 day or 3 days. That's why I'm talking about at least 12 weeks. Another big one is, and I assumed this was going to be the case, is constipation, because there's no fiber on this diet. So you're thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be chronically constipated. Okay. First, let me go ahead and tell you, I've been on this diet almost 6 years now, and not one day have I ever been constipated. Now, I will say, and even early on, it's usually the opposite problem. For the first couple of weeks, sometimes it's loose bowels. It's loose bowels because, again, that microbiome is changing, and I think that's what's causing a lot of these loose bowels. But then it restabilizes out and it becomes normal again. Now, I will say, don't confuse constipation with, yes, you're going to, the frequency, how often you go, is going to decrease significantly. And the volume. You know, when you do go, it's not going to be a whole lot. And the main reason for that is that just, I mean, 95% plus of the meat that you consume, your body can literally just absorb it. There's not a whole lot of waste. And since there's not a whole lot of waste going, you know, coming out the other end, it's going to decrease frequency. It's going to decrease volume, but that does not mean you're constipated. Now, I will say, if you just go out here and ate 5 pounds of cheese, I don't care if you're on carnivore or not. If you do that, yeah, you're probably going to constipate yourself, because that's just that's a fact. Like, we know that cheese, if it's not in, you know, if you overdo it on cheese, and it's going to cause constipation. And the last one is the cholesterol fear, which we've all heard. And let me just tell you that myth has been debunked. And cholesterol is not the bad guy that they have demonized it to be. I mean, just look at what is in an egg. I mean, there's a huge amount of cholesterol in a chicken egg. Why, in the essence of life, that's going to produce a baby chicken, why would that be there if it was terrible for, you know? And then, you know, even in humans, when you're born, the day you're born, you have trillions of particles of LDL floating around in the blood. They'd be having a stroke the day they were born if it was truly the culprit. So honestly, cholesterol's not the problem. Inflammation is the real risk. Inflammation is the root of basically every disease state that there is. And this diet drives inflammation straight down. I mean, it is by far the most powerful diet to help with inflammation. So here's the truth. Carnivore's not scary. It's really not. What's scary is staying sick, staying inflamed and tired for the rest of your life. If you're considering carnivore, give it 30 days. Just give it 30 days. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, great. I'd love to hear from whether it works or not. Let your body show you. Give it a chance. Give it a chance. Give it prime fuel. Give it 6 to 12 weeks off. You can go back to that old diet. If after you do it for 6 to 12 weeks, there is no benefit, or it was just hellacious and you hated it, go back. But at least you'll know, and you gave it a real chance, and I can almost guarantee you, you're going to be blown away just like I was. Anyway, guys, hopefully that was helpful. If you know anybody that needs to hear this, please share this. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. Till next time, guys, stay good.